Hey guys, so for today's video, I'm going to be doing a Pokemon Valentine set. So originally I did this Pikachu nail during a free live painting class on the Ball Pit Shop TikTok. It was taught by, I think it was Marsol Nail something. I'll put her Instagram on the screen, but she taught us how to paint this Pikachu on TikTok, on the Ball Pit Shop TikTok, because she is a Ball Pit brand ambassador, and Ball Pit does do like live painting classes. So I did this because I thought it'd be fun to learn how to paint Pikachu, and that nail that I showed at the beginning was my first attempt at it, and I didn't really like how it turned out, so I thought I would redo it and I would turn it into a full nail set for Valentine's Day. So to start off, I just painted all the nails with blueberry icing, I think it's called, from Ball Pit. And I painted 2 layers of that on all the nails, and I cured each layer for 60 seconds. Although that color doesn't really need 2 coats, but I always just do 2 coats anyhow. But like, it is so pigmented and you get full coverage with just 1 coat. So if you wanted to do 1 coat of it, you could. After that, I'm taking Garden Hoe from Ball Pit, and I'm just doing some little hearts on a couple of the nails. Well, I'm doing some hearts and some 4-pointed stars. I'm doing this on the pointer and the ring finger or nails, just for little accent nails, because I was doing like Pokemon stuff on the other 3 nails and I didn't really know what to do on these 2, so I just added some little hearts to make it more Valentine themed and to have something on those nails so they just weren't plain blue nails. And to do my hearts, I like to take a dotting tool, put 2 dots next to each other. I don't really like to have the dots touching each other. I like to have a little bit of space between them, but if they're touching, it's fine. It doesn't really matter. And then I take my liner brush and I get very little amount of gel on my brush. I mainly just use the gel that is already on the nail from the dots to bring those lines, to bring those dots down to a point to make the heart. And then for the 4 pointed stars, I just do a dot and just drag out from that center dot out to create the little like starburst. Once I get the hearts and stars done, I do cure that for 60 seconds before taking Gumdrop Dreams and just going over all of the hearts and stars to add a little bit of glitter and sparkle to them. I thought it would be really cute to add this glitter to them because this glitter is on that Pikachu nail, and I thought including this glitter throughout the entire set would really help to tie everything together. After I got all the glitter on, I did go ahead and cure that for 60 seconds. So like I said, this Pikachu nail that I did was originally from a paint along class that I followed on TikTok on the Ball Pit Shop TikTok page. Like I said, Maddox herself will do some classes, but then also she will have some of her brand ambassadors do classes. So if you're looking into wanting to do like character art and like learn how to paint characters, and there's even like they've done sculpting classes too, so like if you want to learn how to work with the sculpting gels and like 3D gels, I definitely recommend looking at Ball Pit Shop, the Ball Pit Shop TikTok, and like following them on Instagram too, because that's where they'll post their schedule and like whenever they're doing the classes. Nails by Dev also does classes as well. Again, they do a lot of character art. They also do sculpting stuff as well. So I say if you are serious about like wanting to get into learning how to paint characters or like sculpt characters with the sculpting gel, definitely follow them and watch for whenever they post their schedules of when they're going to have these like paint along classes or like sculpt along classes, because they share like all their tips and tricks, and it is super helpful to learn different ways of how to paint different characters and like just painting in general. They give you lots of good like tips and tricks on how to go about doing things. Okay, so on my palette, I laid down the white from Ball Pit. I also laid down the sketching gel from Ball Pit. And on this pinky nail here, I'm just going in and painting on a heart with the sketching gel. The sketching gel is this like jelly brown color that is meant to be used for you to draw out a sketch of whatever you're doing. If you prefer to draw out a sketch of your art first instead of just going straight in and doing like the color blocking and everything, I definitely prefer to sketch out my designs first if I'm doing something like this. I don't like to go in straight with the color blocking. That is kind of difficult for me. So I definitely like, for me at least, I recommend doing a sketch. But if you prefer to just go straight in with color blocking, then you can just go straight in with the color blocking. But if you do like to do the sketch, I definitely say get this sketching gel because it really helps. It is a, like I said, a jelly brown color, and it gets covered up super easily by other colors that you put on top of it. That's why it was made the way it was made, so that colors could easily go on top of it and you don't see it through those colors. You could also use like a jelly black or even make your own jelly black, like take some black and mix it into a clear. That way you can like create your own kind of like sketching gel. But I personally don't like to use black for that because I feel like black is such a harsh color and it shows through other colors like so much, whereas I feel like with this brown kind of color, it is so easy to cover up. But anyhow, for this nail, I wanted to do like a Pokeball, but I wanted to make it heart shape. And whenever I'm doing nail art like this and I'm like wanting to do a specific thing or like a specific character, I will always have a reference picture. If you are wanting to do nail art like this or like character art or something, I definitely recommend having reference pictures so you can see what to do and like how to go about doing it instead of just trying to do it off of like your memory. So I did have a reference picture for this. I will put it up on the screen so you can see like what I was going for this. But I'm just going in, doing my little sketch here, and whenever I do my sketches, I don't do any flash curing. I put the entire thing on the nail first and then cure when I'm finished, because for me, I have a lot of trouble with like proportion sizes, and I tend to make things either too big or too small. Usually I do too small of stuff, and I'm trying to get better at that. So that's why I don't flash cure my outlines and sketches as I'm going along, and just do it all in one go, because if something's not right in the end, once I have it done, I can see better like what's not right and what I kind of need to fix. And like I can just real quick wipe it off with a cleanup brush and some alcohol and fix it real quick, instead of, you know, going in afterwards and having to fix it when I do add the color. So when you do your outline, it doesn't have to be 100% completely perfect. It does help if it's pretty accurate to how you want it, but it doesn't have to be, like I said, 100% completely perfect, because you can go over and fix things when you apply the color. Like if something is a little off, you can add whatever color you need there to fix it, and you're not even going to be able to tell because the color is going straight over that outline and you won't be able to see it in the end. So you don't really have to be too precise with your outline, but it does help if you get it pretty accurate to how you want it to be. After I get that outline done, I do go ahead and cure that for 60 seconds. And then I go in with my color blocking and fill in the sections of whatever color I'm doing. So for the top half, usually it's red, but because I'm doing Valentine's and I have the pink on the other nails, I decided to keep the pink going with this. So I made it pink instead. And, well, I shouldn't say it's usually red because there are different colors of Pokeballs. But anyhow, I went with the same pink that I had on the other nails. And I just filled in that top half. And then once I get that top half filled in with the pink, I go in with the white and fill that bottom half in. And before, or when I go in with the white, I didn't cure the pink before doing that. Like the pink was still wet as I was filling in the white, just because I didn't want to have to stick the nail in the lamp, wait for it to cure, and then do it. Like I figured since these two colors aren't touching, I will do them together and then cure them both at the same time. That's personally what I like to do. Like if I have multiple colors that I'm doing, I will, as long as they're not touching, I will do them at the same time and then cure. But if you're not comfortable doing that and you feel like you need to flash cure, you can obviously flash cure in between your colors. Same with your outline. If you don't feel comfortable doing the entire outline without curing anything, go ahead and do your little flash cures when you get a part done how you want it to look. And then, like I said, your outline doesn't really have to be 100% perfect. If anything is a little wonky or messed up, you can fix that when you go in to fill your colors in. Also, whenever you're doing your outlines, you want to make sure that you have your liner brush fully coated, but you don't want to have so much gel on your brush that it forms a little bead at the end. You can kind of see when I'm doing the pink and the white that there is a bead of gel at the end of the brush because I am using it to fill in a large space. But when you're doing outlines or any kind of line work where you need those crisp, clean lines, or you need like really thin lines, you want to make sure you have enough product on your brush that it's fully saturated and coated, but you don't want so much to where it's pooling at the end of the brush, if that makes any sense. Like you can see here when I'm going in with the black that the bristles on the brush are coated, but it's not so much that there's that little bead at the end of the brush just pooling down there, if that makes any sense. So yeah, here I'm just going in with the black, doing that black stripe there in the middle and doing the little outline on the circle there. After I get the black on, I do cure that for 60 seconds. I'm pretty sure I mentioned this. I did cure the pink and the white together for 60 seconds. When it comes to curing and flash curing, when I'm doing the colors, as long as nothing's going on top of a color, I will just flash cure it for about 10-15 seconds or so and then move on. But if I'm doing something that is going to have something added on top of it, like how this black is kind of going over top the pink and the white, like it's not really, but it kind of is, just based on how I like outlined everything and like drew it on. I did go ahead and cure the pink and the white for a full 60 seconds. So if something's going on top, if another color is going on top of a color, I will cure that bottom color for the full 60 seconds. That way it's fully cured and there's no issues in the end with like wrinkling or anything, because you know, you can have issues when you don't fully cure stuff. And if there's a bunch of layers of gel on top of each other, like those bottom layers are not going to fully cure. So if you're adding more color and more gel on top of gel, you definitely want to make sure that bottom layer is completely cured. And then once I get that all done, I do go in again with that Gumdrop Dreams, add that pink glitter onto the pink half of that. And then once I get that all on, I do go ahead and cure for 60 seconds. I also, on the background of this nail, added a couple little hearts and 4 pointed stars. I don't show myself doing that because I already showed how I do that on that one nail in the beginning, and I feel like you don't need to see me do that on multiple nails. Like, you kind of got the idea of how to do that on that one nail. But I did add in hearts and 4 pointed stars on the background of this nail just to fill in that space, because it kind of felt a little empty back there. Now I am adding black shading gel and Jolly Jelly, which is a jelly red color, because I'm going in and doing some shading. So I'm taking the black shading gel and doing the shading on the bottom part, the white part of the little heart Pokeball. And I just go in and outline like the edge of the Pokeball where the shading is going to be. And then I'm taking this brush. This brush is the Slim Shady brush from Nails by Dev. It is used for cleanup. It is also used to help you blend out colors and do shading like I am doing here. So if you are using it for shading, you use it dry. And you just kind of tap the color that you're trying to blend out and like pull it out and like make it more like sparse or like dispersed, you know, creating that shading effect. And I do wipe it off every now and then. Every time my brush goes off the screen, I am wiping it off on a paper towel to make sure there's not any product buildup, because I don't want to be adding more color to what I'm doing. I'm trying to take away some of that color and blend it out to make it more of a like shadow effect on the design, if that makes any sense. So I don't want a lot of that product built up on my brush and like depositing it elsewhere on the nail where that color shouldn't be. And then I will just kind of go in and add in some more of that shading gel if I need more. Once I get that on, I do go ahead and cure that. And I do the same thing with the Jolly Jelly, but I do that on the pink. So you can use jelly colors for shading. Like you're gonna see when I use that Jolly Jelly. You can use like a jelly red or green or yellow, like whatever matches with whatever color you are currently using. You can use jelly colors to do shading, because sometimes using black for shading is a little bit too much and it doesn't quite give you the right like color when you're shading. It worked here for the white because it's gonna turn it gray, which if you see shadows on white, it does turn the white gray, so it worked here. But if I were to add that black shading gel on top of this pink, like it wouldn't have looked quite right. So that is why I'm using the Jolly Jelly. It just makes it look like a darker pink color. And when I shaded with the Jolly Jelly, I just used my liner brush here to blend it out. I didn't use the Slim Shady brush at all. So if you don't have the have a blending brush like that, you can use your liner brush to blend it out. Just make sure you wipe it off, get all the product off, and then use it to blend out a little bit. And it works just the same. And jelly colors blend out so easily, so it doesn't really take very much to blend out jelly colors. Like, they're super easy to blend, versus opaque colors, it does take a little bit more finesse to blend them out. And then once I get that shading done, I do cure that for a full 60 seconds. Now I'm going in and adding this little highlight here. I'm just taking the white and drawing that little circle there. And then I'm going to take my Slim Shady brush again, I think, or I might have just used my liner brush for this. I can't remember what I did, but we'll see here in a second. And just kind of like blended out the edge of the circle, so it wasn't a harsh circle. It was more like diffused, kind of like how if a light was, oh, I did use the Slim Shady brush, kind of like if a light was shining onto it. It's not like a harsh line when you see the light shining onto something and creating that highlight. It is a little more diffused and soft, so I wanted to create that look, so that's why I'm softening the edges of the circle. Once I get that done, I do go ahead and cure for 60 seconds. I'm trying my best to explain things. I feel like sometimes I don't always explain things very well. Like, I do better at showing how to do things rather than explaining how to do things. Also, like, doing these voiceovers and trying to explain what I'm doing is a little bit hard. I feel like it's easier for me to explain what I'm doing as I'm doing it. But if I were to like paint and explain at the same time, these videos would be like hours long, like 2-3 hours long. This Pikachu right here alone took me like an hour to paint, hour and a half to paint. So that would just be for one nail, and then explaining what I'm doing on all the rest of the nails, that'd be like, you know, a 4-hour long video, which no one's gonna watch that. I mean, I don't know, people might not even watch this one because it's almost an hour long, and no one really watches when my videos get this long. But anyhow, I hope seeing what I'm doing makes sense, more sense than me trying to explain what I'm doing. Like I said, I feel like sometimes when I try to explain things, it doesn't really make sense, or like I can't find the right words to explain something. So hopefully you watching what I'm doing helps a little more. And obviously, if you have any questions, you can always ask them in the comments below. Like, I always read every comment and I respond to every comment as well. So yeah, if something doesn't make sense, or you need me to clarify something a little better, or there's something you want me to go over in like another video or something, just leave a comment down below and I'll see it, and I'll you know, try and explain better in the comments, or like make a video trying to clarify better what didn't make sense, or like whatever your question was. I can like maybe try and help you out a little bit. But so moving on to the Pikachu nail. Like I said, I already did this once. I did it with that painting class. I didn't film. Whenever I do those painting classes, I never film while I'm doing them. I like to just focus on painting the character and not so much focus on filming and like making sure that I'm in frame and everything's focused and everything. Like, I just like to take time to do these on my own, really, instead of like, you know, trying to make a video out of it. I have done quite a few of these classes here. So I do have a few like random characters painted on some nails that I have done, but haven't filmed. Some of them I might redo like after doing the class to create a video, like how I did here with this Pikachu one, but some of them I might not redo and just have it be something that I did on my own to like practice and try and get better at on my own time. But anyhow, doing the outline for Pikachu, I started with the heart. So let me backtrack a little here. When doing this class, the girl who was teaching it, the way she did it was through color blocking. So we didn't do an outline when she was painting and teaching how to paint Pikachu. Like, we went in straight with the yellow and did his head and his body and like left a little section there for the heart. That's why my heart is kind of funky on that first one, because I didn't have the outline and like I was just struggling doing it that way and doing it like the color block way. Like I said, for me it's a whole lot easier to have an outline of what I'm doing before adding any color onto it. That way I can see and make sure that everything is set up correctly. So the first time, that's why it's a little funky, because I did it a different way that I don't usually do. That's really hard for me to do, but it was nice to like try it out and practice, and I kind of got a better hang of it with that class. And like I feel like maybe I could do color blocking for some characters, like if they're an easier character. But I think for the most part, I'm just going to stick with doing outlines, because that is so much easier for me. And I always feel like things come out better for me when I have an outline done instead of doing the color blocking. So that's why I am doing this outline first here. I started with the heart because leaving the space for the heart, like doing Pikachu himself and leaving space for the heart, was really difficult. I felt like it was be easier to start with the heart and then do Pikachu around it. So that's what I did when I did the outline. I started with the heart and then drew Pikachu around that. I used the shading gel again to get the outline done. Everything was completely uncured while I was doing it. I didn't do any flash cures or anything as I was doing the outline. And then once I was done with the outline, I did do a full 60-second cure. Now I'm going in. I mixed together Spiked Lemonade and Sunbeam from Ball Pit to get the yellow color of Pikachu. Now I'm just going in and filling in that outline that I did, and you're gonna see like I go over the entire little outline of his foot. I go over the outlines that I had there, separating his ears from his head. You're gonna see me go over the line there between his body and his tail, because that all just gets outlined later with a black liner gel anyhow. So going over that really doesn't matter. For this yellow, I do want to say I did do 2 coats of it. I really didn't need to. I could have just left it with 1 coat and it would have been fine. But I think there were a couple spots that I felt like I didn't cover very well, so I did go ahead and do a 2nd coat. Although with all the shading and all the little details that go on later on, I think it would have just been fine with 1 coat. But I did do 2 coats, cured both coats for 60 seconds. So I know I didn't explain like how to draw Pikachu and like the outlining process of like getting Pikachu's outline done on the nail. Instead I sat there and talked about how I have troubles like explaining things sometimes, but I did throw up the reference picture on the screen so you guys could see like the picture that I was referencing. That is a screenshot from the little live class that we did. That is the picture that we were painting for that original class, and I just followed that again for when I redid it here. I was going back and forth between looking at my original Pikachu that I painted as well as the original picture that we painted off of. I was looking at the nail because like things were proportioned out pretty good on the nail, so I could kind of look at that and kind of figure out like, okay, well, this is how far up his head needs to go. This is kind of where his little butt needs to go. Here's where his tail needs to go. But then going back to the original picture and like getting the different shapes down and like looking at that for like the colors and everything. Maybe I'll do a video sometime of just doing a single character, so that way I can like sit and like as I'm painting it try and explain and like give tips and tricks as I'm doing it, instead of doing an entire nail set like I have for the Lizzie McGuire set and now with this Pikachu set. That way I can kind of like give tips and tricks as I'm going, because sometimes things come up as I'm painting it, and then when I come back and edit and do the voiceover, like I don't remember those little things that like came up that I wanted to remember to point out and be like, okay, this is something that I want to say in the video whenever I do the voiceover. So maybe one of these times when I do one of these character nails, like I'll just do one single character on one nail to try and help you out a little bit for those of you that are interested in learning how to do like character art and whatever. But anyhow, after I got the yellow done, I went in with that pink again, filled in the little heart, and then cured that for 60 seconds. I think I did do a second coat on the heart just to make it even with the yellow, because one coat versus two coats of gel polish, like when they're right next to each other, you can definitely tell the difference. Like if like with the yellow, you could tell it was a little bit raised up compared to the pink because there was two coats on the yellow and only one coat on that pink. And I didn't like that difference there, so I did go ahead and do two coats on the pink, and I cured both coats for 60 seconds. Here, I started out by going in with his eyes, but I was like, they are way too big, and like I felt like I wasn't getting the right proportions, so instead I switched over to doing his little cheeks and getting those done because I felt like I would be able to better determine the size of his eyes after I get his cheeks done, because his eyes are bigger than his cheeks, but they're also like spaced a certain way and they're like a certain closeness to his cheeks. So I felt like it'd be easier to get the cheeks done first and then go in with his eyes. So I took that pink that I've been using and did his little cheeks with that. I only did one coat of it over the yellow, like it covered everything pretty well, so I didn't need a second coat, and I did cure that for 60 seconds. Also, for the most part on this entire set, I was using a 9mm liner brush, but when I went to doing his face, I did switch over to a 5mm brush because the 9mm was just a little bit too big to get those itty bitty teeny tiny little details on there, and it was just a lot easier to get like his cheeks and his eyes done and his little mouth and nose done with a 5mm because the it's like shorter in length, and it's just a lot easier to get small details with a small brush and like larger details with a larger brush. As you can see, I do mess up often, and I will just wipe it off with some alcohol. So everything is not always just a one try and it's good. Sometimes I do mess up, even though I did already do this Pikachu once before, so you would think like I have it down and I can do it, in one go the second time, but that's not always the case. It doesn't matter how many times I do a design, I will still mess up when I do it and will have to wipe it off, and have to redo it. And that is just, part of doing art. You mess up sometimes and you gotta erase it and start over and try again. And you might have to erase it a few times before you get it right, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. No one ever gets everything done the right way or the way that they want it done the first time they do it. And if they do, they just got really lucky. Anyhow, after I got his eyes done, I did mix some of that pink and some of the white to make the color for the inside of his mouth. My thumb is completely in the way of me doing it, but it was just like this little U shape. And then for the outline on it, I just took the black that I had been using and just outlined with that. I honestly, when I outlined it, I should have waited until I did the rest of the outlining, but I just went ahead and did it with the black gel polish. It would have looked better if I would have done it with the liner gel instead, but it's whatever. And I think I'm doing a little bit of shading with Jolly Jelly. Again, jelly colors are great for doing shading if you need to. You don't always have to, like I said earlier, you don't always have to use black to do shading. You can do shading with other colors. Like if you need to darken a color, throw a jelly color of that same color on top of it and it will darken it up. You'll get that shading. I went in with the white and did the little like white parts in his eyes, and the mouth, like the shading on the mouth was still wet, so I cured the eyes and the mouth at the same time, 60 seconds. Then I went in again with that glitter, added that onto the heart. I also added that onto his cheeks. You can see there in the background the hearts and the little 4-pointed stars. I did that again on this nail too, but again, didn't show me doing that because I already showed it on that one nail at the beginning. Also, going back to what I was saying about shading, I get so sidetracked and distracted. Shading and adding colors, like I said, you don't have to shade with just black or gray or whatever. You can use colors to do your shading. Sometimes the black just isn't the color to use when shading. Even if it is a jelly black, it's just not the right color to use. Nails by Dev does have a brown shading gel. So, as well, I do have that. I think I've used it before. I don't know. But anyhow, you'll see later when I do shading on Pikachu that I use an orange because the shade, the like darker parts or like the shadows on him are an orange color. So you don't want to use that black shading gel to try and create that because it's not going to look like that. Like it's not going to turn that yellow orange. It's going to just kind of turn, it might make it like a darker yellow, but also I feel like it'd probably make it more of like a muddy type of yellow because you're basically putting black over yellow. So like I said, you don't always have to use black for shading. I feel like for beginners, especially like I remember when I first started doing like art, like in school, I always thought like, oh, shadows and shading, you have to do that with like black and gray to make it dark, you know, but you don't. Like, you can use different colors to, like, different darker colors to create those, and you don't always have to use black. I took a painting class in high school, and this is where it really hit me about the not using black. We had to do a project. I actually had to do two different art projects, where in order to create black, you weren't allowed to use black. I forget. One of it was in a painting class, and the other wasn't in my painting class. It was in a different art class. We had to use oil pastels, and we had to do a drawing that has like a lot of different variations of colors, like, and like highlights and lowlights and shadows and all that. And we were not allowed to use black oil pastels to create black. Like, we had to use different colors to create that dark black look on there without actually using black. And then also with that painting project that I was talking about, we had to do like a watercolor design. And again, it had to be something with lots of highlights and lowlights and shadows and all that. And if anything was black, we were not allowed to use black. We had to, you know, get creative, use different colors, use color theory, and use colors that were going to create the effect of black, but not using black. So that's when it really hit me to, like, black isn't always the right color to use. Like, in theory, like, when you think about it, like, you would think it would be, but it's not always. So like I said, for the darker parts of Pikachu here, for like the shadowing and the shading, I'm using Orange Blossom from Ball Pit. And this is creating those darker parts of him, and like those parts that are like shaded and like in the shadows to create that darker effect. Like I said, if I use that black shading gel to do this, it would not give the same effect, and it wouldn't look right if I did that. So using an orange ended up creating those darker shades of him to make it look correct and like the picture, you know, if that makes any sense. I'm really hoping that like the way I'm explaining things is like helpful or like makes a little bit of sense to you guys. But like I said, I really struggle sometimes. But like I said, I'm just going in with, what is this, Orange Blossom, and going in on all those parts that are a little bit darker on him in the reference picture, and just creating those like shadows and like lowlights and stuff on him. And I think it's all pretty solid. Like, I didn't do any blending with it because in the reference picture, like, the shadows are pretty solid. But anything that was a little bit darker, like if that orange wasn't dark enough, like right there where his little neck crease is, I think underneath the heart as well, and like where his arm is kind of bent and like meets like where his foot is right there that I'm working on right there, I did take Jolly Jelly and go right over that orange just to deepen it a little bit and make it a little bit darker. Because like I said, jelly colors are fantastic for creating darker shades of colors. Like, if you lay a color down and it needs to be a little bit darker or a little bit deeper, take a jelly color of like the same color, or like in this case, I took a red jelly color and put it over the orange. I even put that red jelly color over the pink, and it darkened it up and it made it look really well. So if you do have jelly colors and you're like, I don't really know what to do with jelly colors other than, you know, paint a whole nail with these jelly polishes, use it for shading on different things. Like, jelly colors are really good for that. And like I said, they're really good and really easy to blend out. Like, they're fantastic. So like if you have jelly colors and you don't know what to do with them, use them for shading and stuff because they are great. But anyhow, I do want to mention I did cure the orange for 60 seconds before applying that red on top of there, and then I cured that red for 60 seconds. Now I'm just going in on his tail and doing that little like black to like the yellow ombre on his tail that's going on. So I did the black, brought that up, feathered it out a little bit, and then I take the sketching gel and blend that into the black and into the yellow, because it goes from like a black to a brown, and then it goes into like a little bit of an orangey color into the yellow part of his tail. If you go back and look at the reference picture, if you know what Pikachu looks like, you know what I'm talking about. But when I am doing this part, the black and the shading gel were uncured, so I could blend them together easily. Sometimes you do need to leave colors uncured to blend them together, but sometimes you can get away with like blending colors together when they're cured. And then I just added that orange there to finish off the shading. Cured for 60 seconds. Now on the snail, this is the thumbnail, and I decided I wanted to put I Choose You on this nail. Again, I did have a reference, I'll throw it up. Although the reference that I did, it was like it said I Choose You or something like that on like a Pokeball. And I wasn't doing that on, I just wanted the I Choose You on here because I did the Pokeball on the other nail. But I needed it for like the font of like the Pokemon font, and that was basically why I used that reference picture, was just so I could see how the font is. I honestly absolutely hate doing lettering, because doing lettering is so different than just writing stuff in like your normal handwriting. Like, you have to be pretty precise with it, and you have to do it differently than how you would normally write. So I really hate doing lettering, but I did it for this because I thought it would be cute and it would go, you know, with the whole Valentine's theme. For Choose, I did use my 5mm liner brush because that was a longer word that I had to fit on a small space there, and using my 9mm wasn't really working. And then for the I and U, I went back to using my 9mm liner brush. I use a 9mm for just about everything. If you watch any of my other videos, you know, like 9mm is kind of my go-to. I use a 12mm a lot too, but a 9mm is like my go-to for just about everything. And your brush size does matter when doing things. So like I said, small brushes like a 5mm are great for small little details. A 9mm is really good for like everything, basically, when you don't have to focus on doing teeny tiny little things. Although I wouldn't use a 9mm if you're trying to do super long lines, like if you're doing a line straight across the nail or like up and down like stripes and stuff. I would use something longer depending on the length of the nail. I would go with like a 12 or a 15mm for that. Longer brushes are better when you are doing long lines, because they're a little more stable, I guess you could say. Like, they soak up a lot of, like, if you're super shaky, a longer brush is going to soak up a lot of that shakiness. I don't know if that makes any sense. But like, it kind of is like a shock absorber, like the longer the length is a little bit. So if you're doing a longer, or like, yeah, if you're doing longer lines, you definitely want to use like a longer brush to kind of counteract the shakiness if you do get super shaky when doing nail art. A trick to avoid shakiness. I learned this from my bus driver in middle school. I've mentioned this before in one of my previous videos. I was complaining one time on the bus about how I am always so shaky whenever I have to use my non-dominant hand to paint my dominant hand. And my bus driver was like, if you breathe through your mouth while you're doing it, you will not be shaky. And I was like, really? And she's like, yes, it works. I do it all the time whenever I paint my nails. I breathe through my mouth and I'm not shaky. So I went and tested that out at home when I got home after school. And sure enough, she was right. So now whenever I paint my nails, even if I am using my dominant hand, I breathe through my mouth because I don't shake. I mean, I don't really get super shaky anyhow when I'm using my dominant hand. It is pretty steady, but especially when I'm doing my dominant hand with my non-dominant hand, I definitely always breathe through my mouth. Even when I am using my dominant hand, I will still breathe through my mouth because, you know, sometimes you do get a little shaky, especially when you have been sitting at your nail desk for hours painting and like really focused, and you haven't eaten all day and you've just been like sitting there focusing on nail art. You can get pretty shaky. So if you do struggle with shakiness, try breathing through your mouth. I don't know why it works. I don't know how it works, but it works and I swear by it. Breathe through your mouth and you will lose the shakiness. After I got everything done, I did go over the I Choose You with the glitter. I don't know if I recorded that. I kind of missed that while I was talking about the shakiness. But anyhow, I did go over that with the glitter like I did all the rest of the pink. You can see I did the hearts and stars. Anyhow, once I got done with all that, I did go over the thumbnail, the middle nail, and the pinky nail with a matte top coat. Because it smooths everything out and makes it a lot easier to like have a smooth surface when you go in with your outline. So I went in with a matte top coat, top coated the nails with matte. Before going in with my outline, I used the Emo Black Liner Gel from Ball Pit to do my outlining. Again, like I said earlier, when doing outlining and line work, you want to make sure you have your brush coated, but you don't want it so much on the brush that it pools and forms that bead on the end of the brush. You just want it to be coated enough to where you have enough product on your brush, but that it's like fully, like evenly coated, if that makes sense. After I got all the outlining done, which I did not show me doing all of the outlining because that was just gonna take forever and be annoying, and who wants to sit through all that? I mean, it's basically just me going over everything with black. After I got the outlining done, I was like, they're a little plain, and like I feel like I can maybe enhance them a little bit. So I took the black shading gel and just outlined everything, kind of made a little bit of a thick border to create like a shadow to make it look like the Pokeball, Pikachu, and the words I Choose You were kind of like popping off of the nail to kind of give it like a 3D effect almost. And I really liked how that looked and thought it looked really well, and just kind of added a little bit extraness to the nail and just kind of gave it some more dimension. And then once I got that done, I cured that for 60 seconds, and then I went in with a shiny top coat and top coated all of the nails, and then cured that for 60 seconds. Doing these nails matte would have been super cute, and I would have done them matte probably if I didn't have the glitter on the pink, but because I added that glitter, I really wanted to be able to see it, so that's why I did the shiny. Sometimes glitter matte looks fine. Sometimes glitter matte looks really weird and I don't like it, and I didn't like how it looked on this set, so I went ahead and added a shiny top coat to all of the nails, and I thought they looked better when they were shiny versus matte. Also, something else that I didn't record me doing was on Pikachu, the Pokeball, and the I Choose You nail. I did do teeny tiny little dots with the pink and the glitter to kind of make it look like they were like glittery and like sparkling on the nail. It's kind of hard to see here on the nail. You can kind of see a little bit of the dots, like you can really see them in person a lot better, but just to kind of make it look like they were sparkling a little bit, you know, like the background was sparkling a little bit without actually adding a glitter background. But this is the finished result. I had a piece of cotton on my nail from cleaning up. I'll use cotton balls and acetone to clean off my silicone mat. Anyhow, like I was saying, this is the finished result. I'm super happy with them. I think they turned out super cute. I'm really happy that I redid the Pikachu design or nail, because I feel like it came out so much better the second time, and doing it in a way that was comfortable for me to do instead of doing it in a way that someone else did it made it a lot better for me. And I feel like he came out a lot better when I did it in a way that was comfortable for me. That's really the main thing with doing nail art, any kind of nail art. You gotta figure out what works for you and like what's comfortable for you to do, because what one person does isn't going to work for everyone. Like me doing an outline works for me and it works for a lot of people, but it may not work for you. Like doing color blocking might work better for you. Like I said, when I did the original class, we did it the color block way, and it didn't really work out for me that well. It didn't turn out as well as I knew I could do it, so that's why like I redid it and did it in a way that works for me, and you can really tell the difference between the two and how they came out. That second time it definitely ended up being a lot better, and he's so cute. I absolutely love this set, and it's super cute for Valentine's Day. I don't really know what to say other than I absolutely love this set and it came out so well. But that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching and I hope you enjoyed it.